Hey, let me just introduce to you, some of you know him, some of you probably don't. You've heard me mention his name already, but this is our own Pastor Lucas. So he has a lot of really fun things to share. He's a big Star Wars fan, Marvel Comics kind of guy. But there's a lot more to him than just some of that. So, let's just welcome Pastor Lucas. He's a good friend of mine, and I look forward to seeing what he has to bring with us this weekend. So let's give him a big round of applause.
We're going to see if this thing with like a phone cover rock works, but if it doesn't, I'll just grab a microphone. That works. Good evening. As Reg said, my name is Lucas. If I haven't gotten to meet you guys personally, a lot of it is I'm actually looking at. I work with Reg at NLCC, and mostly I deal with your parents. So I'm kind of like looking around, and I probably know your last names because I'm like, oh, yeah, I know your parents. It's a shame. No, it's not a bad thing. And I get a lot of feedback from your parents because every time I talk about Star Wars or Marvel Comics, they're like, my son just loves when you talk Marvel Comics. And you know, even Reg said I got put in the junior high boys cabin because, you know, that's kind of my maturity level. So, I'm one of you. No, so we haven't got to meet face to face. My name is Lucas. You can just call me Lucas. If you want to call me Pastor Lucas, that's fine. But you can just call me Lucas if you'd like. So yeah, this is my first time here on the back school retreat. So I'm excited to be here with you guys. How many of you that it's your first time too, back school retreat? Yeah, okay. All right, I'm good company. So it's a lot of firsts, okay? It's a lot of new things this year, all right? It's my first time speaking at back to school retreat, but it's also my first time speaking in front of you, which is why I put on fuel camouflage, and I want to be included. So it's a lot of firsts, you know, and for us, it's our first time here. For some of you, it's the first time that you've been to Comcedo, like you haven't worked here, and it's your first time here at the camp. And for some of you veterans, you know, you guys are used to the routine, but then we just threw you a curveball, and we relocated, and we got a different speaker, and it's all kinds of new stuff. And some of you had never put mouth guards in, which, God bless you, you know, you didn't get to have braces. So there's a lot of firsts and there's a lot of new, and so we picked that as the theme this year for the retreat was new. Everything's new. And I know it looks like that the theme of the retreat is but we're going to explain that to you, okay? And you have to give us some grace on this, like as adults, because we're old, okay? And I know that I don't look old, but believe me, I'm like your 35-year-old grandpa, okay? Like, I'm going to sleep in tomorrow, I might wake you up grumpy. So, and like, I email, and I text, and I have Facebook, and I'm even on the Twitter. That's how you tell, like when your parents are talking about Twitter, they're like, how do you get on the Twitter? And I'm like, yeah, you should be on Twitter. So, but you know, even in using those tools, like you guys use some of those tools, but we use them in different ways, okay? Because I'm a little bit older than you. And like, honestly, I don't Snapchat, okay? Because the word snaps is like fingernails on the chalkboard for me. Like we just went on vacation, my wife and I went on vacation with some friends of ours, and with a guy that I went to college with and his new wife, and she just got on Snapchat. She's really excited about Snapchat. And she's also, I think she's older than me, she's like 38, so that also in and of itself is annoying. But all weekend, like we were with them for a whole week, and it was like, I got a snap, can we snap? I want to snap, can I show you my snaps? Oh, you guys wouldn't believe my snaps. And I was like, stop saying the word snaps, okay? Like, no 38-year-old should say the word snaps that much, okay? But it was like, my snap, did you see my snaps? Can you help me snap? And I was like, oh my gosh, just call it a picture, just take a picture. I don't care if you put it on Snapchat, just don't call it a snap, okay? So this weekend, most of you guys didn't bring your phone, don't say the word snaps to me, you know? Don't do that. Like, you and I, we don't use social media the same ways, okay? We don't feel the same way about it. But beyond that, just baseline. Everybody in this room, you text, right? Yes. What's it? Yeah, you text. Anybody not text? Anybody? What's texting? No. You text. My mother-in-law texts. You text. Okay. So, but even in using that, like, you and I probably don't text the same way. Like, I use full sentences with punctuation. like the letter I and a heart, or like a picture of somebody doing it, like it would be cute, right? It would be cute. And then you would type the word, instead of the word you, like Y-O-U, you would just put a U, right? Yeah. So, keep that in mind. This thing right here that looks like a V to you is actually a letter. It's just not in the English alphabet, it's in the Greek alphabet. And we're going to be doing a lot of Greek work because the Bible was originally written in Greek. I know some of you are like, oh, there's something other than English. But it's a Greek letter. Can anybody guess what that Greek letter is called? What's the theme of the week? New. It's the new. It's basically the equivalent of an N. It's called a new. So if you were to type the theme of the week into your phones, you could just write, you are new. If you had a Greek alphabet on your phone. Or a phone. But it's a great thing that you can just be like, oh yeah, boom, new. Alright, it's a graphic. Let's move on. That's what we're talking about this week. We're talking about new. So you guys can, if you're just super cool at school, you can be like, new, I made a new thing. Alright. But when you guys think of new, we saw some of what the ladies here thought of when they used the word new. But like, what do you guys think? Just shout out. What do you think when you hear the word new? New clothes, new? Shiny stuff. Shiny stuff? Yeah. So new can mean a lot of different things because it's like this. If you got a new taco, that sounds kind of shady. But there's a difference. But if you get a new car, that's different than getting a new used car, right? Like you say, oh, it's new to me. That's different than getting a new car that nobody else has been in. Or like cooking with, you guys know what new potatoes are? It's a type of potato. So working with new potatoes is a little bit different than when you say I have a new baby. Okay? It doesn't mean it's a type of baby, it means it's a random baby that cries, alright? Or if maybe some of you have dealt with in your family, like we added a new member to our family. And if you say, I added a new member to my family, that could mean that you had a baby, it could mean that you got a new stepbrother or sister, it could mean you got a new step-parent, it could mean that you got a foster kid or an adopted kid. Like, new can mean a lot of different things. So this week, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a really specific kind of new. Alright? Because that's why we're talking about Greek stuff, because in the Greek language, things are real specific. It's not like, when you say, like, I love tacos and I love my wife. Like, that word is different in Greek. There's like 3 different kinds of love, okay? So you would say, I like tacos, not just I love tacos. But I do love tacos. So we're going to look at 4 things. There's 4 sessions this weekend. We're going to look at 4 things that the Bible tells us about this really specific kind of new, okay? So if you brought your Bibles, I want you to get them out. Whoever had the spangly Bible, kudos to you. Get out your sparkly volumes, next to your sparkly vampire books. And if you have notes, open up your notes. I believe it's page 13 or 15, something like that, somewhere in the teens. Back there is session 1. Get out a pen. If you don't have a pen, bug your neighbor for a pen. And if you're like, listen, dude, I don't take notes. The theme of the week is new. Try something new, okay? If you want to open your Bibles, we're going to be in Ephesians 4. I can't tell you what page number that is because you've all got it in mind. Ephesians 4, verse 23. Or you can follow along on the screen. Are you ready? Thumbs up if you're buckled up. You don't get that? If you're in a car, you say thumbs up if you're buckled up.
Oh, we don't do that.
That's a shame. Alright. I'm going to read this for you. Right there, Ephesians 4:23 through 24 says, instead, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and attitudes. Put on your new nature, created to be like God, truly righteous and holy. I like where this is going. It's a new nature, alright? If you were to text that to somebody, you can just use your little. It's a V nature. It's a new nature. In Christ, when we say that Jesus is in charge of our life, when we devote our lives to Him and become followers of Christ, we get a new nature. That's what Paul, the author here, is telling us. So, I don't know if you guys have ever heard like the nature versus nurture thing. They say, I don't know if it's nature versus nurture. Like, it means that I don't know if it's the way you were raised or if it's just the way that you are. Your nature is usually the way that you are. So, like when you guys think of that, when I say, what's your nature? What do you think of?
Crazy.
Your what? Your crazy level? Your hair color maybe? What about your nature? Are you quiet? Are you loud? So our nature, let me tell you about what I think our nature. Our nature, I think, is somewhat the way that you carry yourselves. Are you confident? Do you have some swagger? You guys got some swagger? A little bit? No. That's a shame. Our nature is how we carry ourselves. Our nature is how we behave. Okay? Our nature is just what it says here. It says our thoughts and our attitudes. Our thoughts and our attitudes. If you're taking notes, write that down. Thoughts and attitudes equals nature. That's what nature equals. Our thoughts and attitudes. Our nature is who we are down to the bone. It's not just our thoughts, but it's the way that we express them. And it's not just our attitudes, but it's how we're thinking about that in our head. It's our thoughts and our attitudes. It's our vocal tone. It's our posture. If we're being snarky or ironic or stuck. What is it right now that's bugging you? What is it right now that you're not really excited about to go back to school? Maybe it's a kid in your class. Maybe it's something you did that's embarrassing. Maybe it's something that you're struggling with at home. Maybe it's a home situation. But just write it in that first blank. Because what we're going to start with is the problem. I know we don't really know each other that well yet, but so I'm not going to ask you to say that out loud. But each session, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about me when I was close to your age. And it wasn't a flattering time in my life. And even though I had a lot of fun, in junior high and high school, it was, well, to put it lightly, it was awkward. It was an awkward time, okay? I was not what you would call one of the cool kids. My friends and I, we didn't play football or skip school. In fact, one of our favorite times was when school would get out at like noon, but the faculty had to stay till 4:30. Because what we would do is bribe our computer lab teacher to let us stay at school. Because at that time we didn't have Xbox Live, wasn't invented, so the only way that you could play video games against each other was to hardwire networked computers together, which the only place in town to do that was school. And so we would beg our computer teacher to let us stay after school so that we could play World of Warcraft, or it was just Warcraft at the time, or StarCraft, and whatever, the first ever first-person shooters. We were playing those on the little max with the screen that was this big. That was who I was, okay? When I graduated high school, I weighed 125 pounds, and I am as tall as I was then. So I was not cool. But before I was even that cool, I was in 8th grade. And guys, I know some of you are in 8th grade, and I'm sorry. I went through that same darkness, all right? But it was it was not a fun age for me. It might be a fun age for you guys. I was hopelessly in love with this girl that barely knew my name, and you're like, oh, I know. Yeah, no, it was bad. But she didn't know who I was. And I was this nerdy little nobody, and I got picked on a lot. And so I thought that it would be a great idea in that social status to run for student council president against the point guard of the basketball team. So this was not my best idea, okay? It was not. And one of the things that you had to do was give a speech, not just in front of the 8th grade class, but the whole school. 6th, 7th, and 8th was our middle school. And my opponent, he wore his Letterman jackets, and he gave a rah-rah school-spirited speech where it was like, St. high school football rules. It wasn't very intelligent, but it got a lot of applause. And he promised to bring soda machines in the cafeteria and jazz. I, however, at this time, I don't know if you guys know this about me, I'm actually afraid of public speaking. So that was great in junior high. And so I didn't really want to do that. And I took some advice from my mom and wore a suit to school. And yeah, the whole day. And I got up to the podium and I freaked out. And I took my note cards and I started reading hello, my name, just like that. And I started to cry. Yeah. This is in front of the entire school. It was a Friday assembly. And as a 13-year-old boy, the last thing you want to do is cry in front of anyone. Like your friends will hassle you if you cry in front of them, right? Let alone, a bunch of strangers. So that was the last thing that happened at school on Friday. It was not going to be a great time for me. And I tell you guys that because I know the dark places that your mind can go. I know what it's like to feel embarrassed and ashamed and not good enough, and I know what it's like to feel failure on a massive scale. And here's the thing that I want to admit to all of you as teens, is I think that looking back, I gained some perspective on that, but there are these times as an adult where I feel like I'm talking to you guys and you guys say something and you're going through a dark patch in your life, and adults, and me included, we give you advice like, oh, honey, it's not the end of the world, or, someday you'll look back on this and laugh, or, we try, and I feel like as adults we're guilty of minimizing what you're going through. Does that make sense? Like, for you, that's a really, really big thing. And for us, we're going, oh, in 18 years, that won't even be a problem. And you're like, 18 years? I'm worried about Monday, And I don't ever want to minimize that for you. We are sometimes guilty of that. And it might seem silly to you that I lost an election and cried in front of school, but for me it was depressing. And, it was terrifying to go back to school on Monday. And hear me when I say this, and you guys can write this down if you want in your notes, is that I want to admit to you guys that I know that what you're going through is consuming, okay? But it's not complete. What you are going through is consuming, but it's not complete. I know there are things that are going to happen to you at home and at school, and maybe now even on social media. Dark things that can feel like it consumes you. Like you can't see anything past that. And that feeling is real. I felt it when I was your age. I didn't want to go back to school. I didn't want to face anybody. I wanted to crawl in a hole and never come out again. So I'm not going to minimize it or try to make it better by telling you that you're wrong and that's not really important. What you're going through is consuming, but it's just not complete. You guys need to know that this is not how your story ends, okay? So you may not make the tryout. You might get embarrassed. Some girl might make fun of you and gossip about you. Some boy might pick on you. There are just crappy things that happen at school. But it's not the end. That's not the end of your story. I was afraid of public speaking and cried. I don't cry when I preach now. Well, sometimes I do. But not to say business. All right? I was lucky enough to know Christ and to get a new nature, a new attitude. And I'll tell you more about that story tomorrow morning. But for right now, I'll just tell you kind of the rest of the equation. And I'll tell you what happened that weekend, but for right now, I'll just tell you that something happened that weekend. And on Monday, I went back to school and I held my head up high. And when someone said, dude, you cried in front of the whole school, I said, yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. And then they didn't really say anything after that. Because I really didn't care. Something had happened that weekend, which I said, I'll tell you tomorrow morning. And I went back to school and I said, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of me. It matters what God thinks of me. It matters what my parents think of me. It matters what I think of me. And I got a new attitude. I got a new nature. And so, if you're looking at that equation, I want you to write, so you've got that first thing, that whatever you're going through, that darkness, and that second thing, I want you to write this in just a second. So just hold on for it, wait for it. But let's look at Ephesians 4:23. It says, instead, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and actions. And that's a different word than our brand new. So we talk about the word new in 24, but this word in 23, it's also a type of new, but it's translated renew. But actually, it means to be continually renewed. So it actually means, and because Reg loves this word, I'm going to tell you what it actually is. The Greek word is called anaeustai. Anaeustai. You don't have to write that down. Don't even try that. Write down the word refurbished or repurposed. So if you have darkness in your life, if you add a refurbished or a repurposed, it equals your new nature. So you guys know what a mason jar is? Yeah, your mom's probably had them at home. A mason jar. It's like a little jar people drink tea out of. It's got a lid. You're going to see one tonight. Don't worry about it. Mason jars, you know what they were originally used for? To can things, fruits and vegetables, right? People used to seal things in them and put them in a cellar to keep them cool. And the original jars, if you can find the original mason jars, they're worth big bucks. Because people use them today as glasses, flower pots, containers, decorations, because they've been repurposed. They've been refurbished. And the word, it doesn't mean just like cleaned up, or I put flowers in it instead of pickles, but the result of that, you see in 24, is that it becomes something brand new. So it's like this. So you cut down a tree and you use the lumber to build a barn, right? And you paint it, and then storms come and it's damaged, and it gets kicked by a cow, you know, and people throw hay against it, and pretty soon that barn looks pretty gnarly and it's really cracked, and you know, it rains and it, you know, the whole thing, and like pretty soon you see these barns by the side of the road that looks like they're ready to be torn down, right? But somebody goes and they take that piece of wood and they take it home and they sand it down and they build a table out of it. And they go down to the West Bottoms on First Fridays in Kansas City and they sell that table for $2,000 out of $5 worth of wood. Because it's not an old barn door anymore, it's a brand new table. Because somebody refurbished it. That's crazy. Alright? But it's also genius. Because we've done that. People take pallets. They take apart pallets, old pallets nobody wants, and they build new things out of them. Because although that wood has seen some darkness and some storms, it's not an old barn anymore. It has become a new table. That word, anaeustai, it means to renew something to the point that it is brand new. It's not a used car. It's brand new. It's not an old barn anymore, it's a new table. And then someday somebody's going to get sick of that table. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to cut the legs off and sand it down and make it into a new coffee table. They're going to continually repurpose it and reuse it and refresh it. So I don't know what last year's school year was like. And I don't know what mistakes you made. I don't know if you made a terrible speech. I don't know if you were embarrassed, if you got cut from the team, if you made a lot of bad choices, if you got in trouble with the police. I don't know what happened. I don't know if you're a straight A student. That's great. I don't know if you were pretending to be somebody that you're not, though. And I want to tell you that you don't have to do that. And I don't care what darkness is following you, whether it's trouble at home, whether it's stuff that's happening in school. I do know this, that you are not complete. This is not the end of your story, and you can lay down whatever it is, because if you lay it down, it's only a matter of time till somebody else does. I went to school and I got made fun of for like 3 days total because I just didn't care. And it wasn't fun for anybody to tease me. You can decide to be new and other people will recognize that. You can decide to put it down and let God renew you, repurpose you, refresh you, reuse you, restore you, and you get a new nature. You get new thoughts and a new attitude. I don't know if I could have survived that year of my life if I didn't learn to laugh at myself and not take myself so seriously. And I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't learned to think of myself differently and had a different attitude to match. That I didn't care what other people thought. Paul says our new nature is to be holy and different. Holy means to be different in a way that sets you apart. And it says that we're to honor God. And guys, I want this for you so badly. I can't tell you the difference that I felt that weekend. And tonight, I just want to tell you and give you permission that you don't have to be the same person that you came here as. You can try on something new. Can we agree to that? So if one of your friends comes and they start acting differently, you're not going to shame them, you're not going to call them a poser, you're not going to say, they're trying on something new. They got a new outfit, they got a new attitude, they got some new thoughts and some new actions, and they're going to try it on for size, okay? And I want to give you guys permission to do that. You don't have to be the same person when you go home from this meeting and you can't do this. And I want to challenge you to consider letting go of that thing that you might have written in that equation and laying it down and just deciding that that's not going to be you anymore. All right? So tomorrow morning, we'll talk more about this. We'll talk about another passage where it uses this word. I'll tell you the rest of what happened to me on that weekend. And I hope that doesn't keep you up at night wondering, okay? So we're going to have a snack coming up. I think Reggie's going to give you some announcements and directions. But during your snack time, we're going to give you a reminder of tonight, which is a Mason-looking jar, okay? When you guys look at it, I hope you recognize the fact that you don't have to be the same person. You get to be reused, all right? Let me pray for you guys real quick. Hey guys, listen up. Let me pray for you real quick before we go, okay? Lord God, I just pray for these young men and women that they have come here, Lord, and I pray that you would be working on their hearts, that you would chip away the stuff that they are burdened with, that they could let it go, that they could walk away from it and be free and be a new person in you, to have a new nature and new thoughts and new attitudes. And Lord, I just pray for the softening of hearts, and I pray for permission for that, Lord. In your name we pray.